So welcome to our class on space clearing and learning how to cleanse and revitalize your space using all these beautiful modalities I'm going to share. So I love space clearing so much, and it's a practice that has been around for thousands of years, and tradition, cultures all over the world, and everybody's got their own slightly unique way, and depending on the herbs that grow around or those traditions, but everybody, has their own unique way of clearing. So I'd love to kind of go over the general flow, and then I invite you to find what it is that really lights you up and that you resonate with. So so powerful, and it's such an art, and it's such a beautiful way of connecting with your space, connecting with the land, and connecting with your own intuition, as well as ancient traditions from your ancestors, right? And space clearing is something that can be done daily, weekly. I personally like to do a proper clearing either on the full moon or the new moon. But I have little sprays around the house that I'll spray daily, and also just really listen to that intuition, like our homes will speak to us, or things will happen, and we'll just go, oh yeah, it's time for me to clear, right? Maybe somebody was sick for a while, or somebody came into the house and kind of left an energy there, but you'll know, right? So left over in some ways where it's really important to clear, if there's been any kind of illnesses, for sure, any kind of health challenges. If you had visitors that just didn't really feel aligned, or sometimes, people we love are just going through a really hard time, and they'll come in and they'll want to share it all, but then they leave and there's an energy left, right? And we don't want that in the space. After any major life changes, divorces, when we're grieving things, like, we are releasing. So it's really important. Otherwise, that energy just goes into the walls, it goes into the ceiling, goes into the furniture. So it's really vital. It's just like really brushing our teeth every day. It's just like we eat every day. We wash physically. Well, why wouldn't we wash and cleanse energetically? Definitely, if there's been any kind of a robbery in the home, if there was arguments, if you're a new fresh start on something, you're wanting to bring in more prosperity, health, relationships, if you're entering a new relationship, or you've had an argument in a relationship, and then definitely any kind of remodeling, and of course, if you're moving into a new home, definitely. And so when you cleanse the space, it invites in all this beautiful, divine, positive energy, and it gets rid of all the stagnant, energy that's stored in the home. So I'd like to take you through the whole journey of how you can do it, so you're empowered in your space. However, if there's a time that you're just not feeling that well, it's best not to clear, because we always want to feel really strong energetically, because then our energy field is full and strong. But if we're feeling really tired, or we're not feeling well, or depleted in some way, there can be holes kind of in the energy field, and then that space that we're clearing, sometimes we absorb it, versus when we're feeling really good and grounded and centered, we can just cleanse it and disperse it and transmute it and send it out. So it's really, really important that you do it when you're feeling good, and if not, you can get some help with it, or just wait till you are feeling better, or even just opening up the doors and windows help. But when we come to space care, we always want to show up with the intention of love. As we know, love itself has the frequency and the vibration to transmute pretty much anything. That question, or that musician who said, the answer is love. Sorry, what was your question? Right? So if we can show up with that presence of love, it already starts to cleanse the energy, right? When we just show up with that. But the first thing we want to do is ground our energy. So at the start, when we grounded our energy down into the earth, and we connect with the earth, and you can do that in a number of ways. Imagine yourself like the tree. You can go out and walk barefoot on the land. You can hug a tree. You can sit under a tree. You can go to a river, a well, the beach. Just get out in nature and create that beautiful, deep resonance and connection with nature. So that's how we ground our energy, right? We send our roots down into the earth, and then our branches reach up to the light. But trees are very wise, and plants and fruit and vegetables, nothing will even start to grow until it's fully rooted, right? So that's really important. Nature is constantly guiding us and teaching us. So it will not even consider growing upwards until it's fully rooted, right? So that's the first thing we do. Then we want to really connect with our center and our heart, right? So we want to tune into ourselves and really come from that clear space. And then every single home, land has its own vibration. It's like there's a soul to the land, there's a soul to the home. And usually when we feel called to rent or purchase somewhere, it's because we have that soul connection with the land, right? So what we want to do is tune into that space and just find out what it needs, right? So we can just sit in the home and sit there and ask, like, what is it you need? You can use a pendulum, right? And you can guide the pendulum. Clockwise is yes, counterclockwise is no. And you can ask, like, is there energy to be cleared? Is there a specific area where the energy is to be cleared? I'm going to give you those some tips so you know where the energy's off and you can really feel it. I'm going to give you some ideas on that. And then I always like to offer the land, your garden, the land that your home is on, and the home itself, if there's an offering that it needs. So you just get to really tune into the home and be like, what is it that you need, you know? And sometimes it will respond like with a specific crystal or an essential oil or a flower essence or a chant or a prayer or a song, or, you know, it just, the home and the land wants to be honored, right? So that's really important. So it could be a crystal as an offering, and you can just feel into, this is an amethyst, but what kind of crystal wants to be offered, or perhaps flowers are to be planted, or to bring a specific flower or potted plant inside. Maybe that's what the home needs, like an offering, and to bring more nature inside. So when we tune in, we receive that guidance. So essential oils could be another type of offering. So when we show up, as I said, with this energy of love in our hearts, that is a beautiful frequency, first of all, within ourselves, right? So the first thing we do is ground. And the next step is we want to protect our energy field. And especially if you're clearing other spaces, like, you know, if you were working as a Feng Shui consultant or a friend just asked you to clear, it's very important that we ground our energy and we protect our energy, because when we step into this other dimension of energy, right, we have to know how to work with that. And when we show up as this vessel of love, right, when we show up with this essence of love, right, we want to protect. So one way you can do is call in the essence of the rose. And what I like to visualize is all these beautiful roses all around me, and they're there for the entire time that I'm doing the clearing. And then when I'm complete, I just look at the roses. They usually look a little wilted, and I just give deep thanks to the roses, and then I release them. That's what I would do with the roses. So you can see them all around. And this process is the mystic rose, right? So what you can also do is, if you're working, you can put the roses in between you and the space. But I think just surrounding yourself with the roses is really powerful. Another practice I like to use is surrounding yourself in white light. So you can just see this beautiful white light, just as we did at our opening meditation, this beautiful white light straight coming down from source, and just surrounding yourself in this white light, and just also sending the white light down into the land as well, down into the earth. And you can also bring up that golden light that we were working with. So you are surrounded and completely protected by all of this beautiful light. Another protection technique I really like to use is working with the violet flame. This is a really beautiful technique. So just as a ray of sunlight passes through a prism, is refracted to the 7 colors of the rainbow, so spiritual light manifests as the 7 rays. So each ray has a specific color, frequency, and quality of consciousness. So the violet flame ray is known as the 7th, and it has the ability to erase, transmute, and really transform energy, right? So you can call in that light, that ray, right? And then I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment, and I'm just going to bring in the violet flame, and I want for you to notice how that feels. And this is always a conscious choice. So if you'd like to do it, great, I will. If you'd rather not, you don't have to tune in. But I'm just going to bring in the flame and just notice how that feels, right? So, mighty, I am presence. Blaze through me thy consuming violet flame of divine love. Take all negativity and fear from me. Annihilate its cause and effect, past, present, and future, and replace it by the fullness of yourself, your perfect satisfaction, and hold your full dominion here forever. So just feel that beautiful violet flame flowing straight down from source and down through your body, or you can feel it moving through your space. I even felt a little clearing myself. So that is a technique you can use, and you can use that technique in seconds. Like if you were even out at a store, or, you know, like if you're walking into a space and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this feels a little bit off, you can just bring in the violet flame, or you can bring in that white light, and that is an immediate protection for your energy field. So when I space clear, I like to set up a very simple altar. I mean, I always have an altar set up in my home, but if I'm space clearing somebody else's space, or you can actually set up an altar just for space clearing. So just like we did at the start, we open the sacred space. We always give gratitude to that higher power that is with us, and also our connection with Mother Nature. So below and above. And then we create the altar to receive guidance, to connect with our ancestors, to help release any of the struggles maybe that you were experiencing or a client was experiencing, right? Or any challenges or whatever it is that you feel called to clear. And then you can invite in and receive this beautiful creative inspiration. And so the altar is a beautiful way of almost like having the entire universe within that altar. And what you consciously chose to put on that altar has such a huge effect. So it's kind of like another form of opening sacred space. It's not totally necessary to space clear with, but I think it's a beautiful, beautiful addition when you are clearing a space. And the location of the altar can either go right inside the front door, or in the center of the home, or, you know, it really depends. If somebody really had a lot of really stagnant, you know, stuck energy in the bedroom or something, you could put it in there. Or the kitchen is very much known as the heart of the home. So, but usually I would place it in the center or at the front door while I'm doing the clearing. And whatever you put on that altar, it's really up to you. Like if there's crystals you felt called, if there was any kind of incense, or you could add the items that you're going to clear with. And you could bring in the 5 elements, you could have a candle lit, you could bring in some water, some flowers for the wood element, you could bring in something metal. You can see I've got a metal chalice on that altar. So you've got your wood, water, and you've got your fire with your candle. And then, of course, your crystals are the earth. So that's a way to bring all the elements in. And so by lighting the candle, that's a beautiful way of opening sacred space. That's a beautiful ritual to kind of call in the energies to help cleanse the space, right? And then, of course, that altar can be used to ask for guidance, to give guidance, to send blessings, and to really tune into the energy of the home. So remember all the steps that we've taken. The first step was to ground your energy, to know when to clear, to ground your energy, to protect your energy, to create the altar. And then the next step is kind of like calling in your sacred team. Perhaps you have specific guides that you work with, or what, for me, I mean, I've been doing this so many years. For me, specific guides come in depending on whose home that I'm working with, depending who the guides are of the land, right? So again, to open sacred space, we light the candle, whether it's on your altar or there's just a candle that you set up to start your clearing with. And as always, we've grounded and connect down to the earth, but then we want to connect with our highest self, right? So connect with that higher power and that higher level of consciousness that is you, but it's your highest level of consciousness. So you evoke your highest self to be present and support with the clearing. Then I like to evoke the directions below, above, north, east, south, and west. And you can very simply just call in directions and invite them in, or I have a beautiful prayer that I do that I evoke it with. If you like to work with the archangels, you can call them in. I also like to work with my ancestors. I invite my ancestors in, those that are here for the highest good, only those that are here for the highest good from a heavenly realm. And then if I am space clearing for my own home, I call and evoke the ancestors of the land. And then I create an introduction, which is well done in my home, but where I connect the ancestors of the land and my ancestors. Of course, if you were space clearing somebody else's home, you would evoke the ancestors of the land and introduce their ancestors. So again, all of this is consciously done, and we tune in, is that the right thing? And you'll receive guidance. So calling in the ancestors of the land. And then I like to work with a lot of the different goddesses. And again, it depends on the home, who comes in. But I like to work with Kuan Yin, the goddess of love and compassion. And there's many different goddesses. So I think it really depends on who you connect with. That's really important. Okay, my loves. Evoking the Ascended Masters is another way, and that's Kuan Yin right there that I was mentioning. Perhaps it's Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. Everybody has different guides that they work with, or perhaps you work with animal totems like the wolf energy, or the salmon, or the deer. It depends. You will find out who your guides are the more you do this work. So I just like to evoke my team and call them in and work with them that way as you open sacred space. Okay, so let's next of all talk about different kind of tools that we can use for space clearing. So there's so many beautiful tools. I love to work with herbs. Some people call it smudging, some people call it smoke cleansing. And I think it really depends on where you are in the world. I think it depends on the land that you're living in. So what herbs grow locally are really profoundly powerful. Or also your ancestral roots, like the land that you were born on, or even the land of your ancestors. You will probably feel more of a connection to work with specific herbs, right? So there's so many, and I will do a separate class on that. But we've got Palo Santo, which means sacred tree. It's a Brazilian tree, so that's one way, and it's got a really sweet smell. Then you've got sage, but there's all different types of sage, and depending what is native to the area. But sage is very powerful for cleansing. And just even on a practical level, like on a scientific level, when you burn sage, even the smoke has antibacterial qualities, and that's why it was even used. It's been used for thousands of years. Many of these different herbs, as we burn them, they release these beautiful things that actually cleanse the air from specific bacteria and everything. So it's on a scientific, like a very physical but also energetic level. You've got lavender. Of course, that's really for cleansing the space and very calming. Spruce and cedar. And again, this is I think, a very personal one. And as you tune into the space, it's going to guide you on the specific herbs that you can use. So I'll be doing other classes on going deeper into the herbs, but I'm giving you a beautiful overview, and you tune into one and just work with that. The other way you can space clear is through sound vibration. So through crystal bowls, and I have one here that I will play for you a little later. The metal singing bowls, tuning forks, tingshaws, drums, handpans, bells, your voice, toning, singing, chanting, prayer. These are all different sound vibrations of how you can cleanse a space as well. This is what a metal singing bowl looks like. This is more like what a crystal singing bowl looks like. There's lots of different ones nowadays, or a drum, which is very much so connected to the heartbeat of the land. So for me personally, like I've got a few different tools, and then I just tune into the energy and the soul of the land and the space. And then I'm very much so guided, or you might just even find like you're picking up one specific tool and that's the one you feel very guided. And what I love so much about cleansing with specific tools is through sound frequency, is they will talk to you. So, you know, if you ring a bell or something, I have a bell here, I'm just going to ring it, the tingshells. So when you go to ring those, sometimes they've got this beautiful, clear, high vibrational ring to them, right? Or sometimes when energy is really heavy and stuck, it's got a really dull sound. It's almost like you're hitting off wood, right? Versus the metal. Same thing with the singing bowl. And same thing when you're burning like sage and different kind of herbs. What happens is, especially in Native American, they really believe like tobacco or any kind of smoke, when it goes straight up, it's going straight up to source, so it's cleansing. But if you notice that you're smudging or you're doing a smoke cleansing and the smoke is not rising up and it's going to the left or right, it's usually representing there's stuck energy there. So we want to stand in place until the smoke is raising straight up, and that means that it's cleared. So all of your tools, through the sound frequency, through what's happening with the smoke, to getting more attuned to when something feels heavy, will all be guiding you on how to clear. So a way that we like to prepare the space. So first of all, we talked about preparing ourselves, right? We want to ground, we want to protect, we want to evoke our guides, we open the sacred space, we can create an altar. And then also, like beforehand, I like to always, you know, either do a salt bath or a shower just as a way of coming in completely cleansed. But afterwards, I like to do that too, because you want to be really careful that you've protected well so you don't pick up any of the energies. And then to prepare the home, we've talked about how we can tune in and see what kind of offerings the home needs. But then I like to open up all the doors and windows, because then you've given an outlet for all that old energy to leave. And so you can just invite that energy, all those lower frequencies, to just leave the space. And I love it. Like no matter what's going on with the weather is guiding, right? So if it's rainy, the rain is very cleansing. If it's windy, the wind is blowing it away. If it's sunny, that the fire of the sun has the ability to burn and transmute the energy. So no matter what's going on with the weather, opening up the windows is amazing. And then, like we talked about, we ground and connect down with Mother Earth. We connect with the energy of the home, right? That's very important. Find out what it needs. We talked about protecting our own energy and how important that is. So the next step, after you have done all of that yourself, and we've done everything we've described, and then we're at the house, then what we want to do is we want to start at the front door. And the front door should, if possible, be left open for the entire clearing as well as the windows. And we want to start at the front door because that is what we call in Feng Shui the main mouth of qi. It's where a lot of the energy comes in. So when the door is wide open, we give another opportunity for the energy to leave. So what we do is we start at the front door. So whether you start with the smoke clearing or you do sound vibration, then we want to move around the house in a clockwise fashion. So if I came in that front door, I would go to the left and I would just follow guidance. So the sound is going to guide you. If it feels really dull or stuck, you're going to know that you need to stay in place and not move forward until it lightens, and you will feel or hear this huge dispersion and release of the energy. And I invite you to really go where you're guided, right? So you might feel guided to go under beds or under tables, and you're like, this is a bit random, but you got to really trust, because sometimes energy is just stuck in these areas. A lot of the time people process stuff when they're sleeping, so beds and bedrooms need a lot of clearing. A lot of the time people in the shower are processing, so that needs clearing. And then of course any corners tend to hold a lot of energy. So anytime that there's a lot of empty corners, they will hold a lot of stagnant energy. So you want to stay present the entire way through the clearing. You don't want to be thinking about this is what I'm going to do later. You want to like be present where you are, and you can carry on with that through your breath. And also by setting an intention, right? If your intention is, I'm going to clear out any old or stagnant energy, as you go through the space, that can be where your focus is the entire time, cleansing and releasing old stagnant energy. And you want to stay in place as you clear until that space is, until it feels like either the smoke is rising straight up or that beautiful clear sound is in through the sound vibration. And then, of course, there will be guidance that you're going to receive. And if it's your own home, you know, you will receive guidance from the home. Sometimes you receive it through colors or messages, or you see something, or you just feel something, or just, you know, there's all these different ways. You can be clairaudience, clairvoyant, where you see things, clairaudience, you hear things. Sometimes there's just this inner knowing, right? And so write those down, because you think you're going to remember them, and sometimes we forget them, or even in the moment it might make sense, but then it does shortly afterwards. So I said there's lots of these beautiful herbs that you can use to cleanse with. It's very important to have a smudge plate when you're clearing, because as you burn these beautiful herbs, we don't want them landing on carpets and stuff like that. And as I said, if the smoke is not raising straight up and it's going to the left or right, it's because there is stagnant energy there. So we want to make sure we stay in place until the smoke is rising straight up. That's another beautiful way it communicates with us. So as soon as it starts to go up, then we're like, okay, great, I've cleared this part of the home. And then I like to go through the home completely from start to finish, at least once, with either a smoke clearing and any of the herbs that I've been talking about, or sound vibration, any of the ones I was talking about, or perhaps you'll feel called to go around the home a couple of times, maybe with one type of herb and then another type of herb, or then another sound vibration. You know, it depends how much time you have. Like, I like to do a really deep clearing once a month, and then all throughout the month I'm just doing little clearings, and every day I open up my doors and windows every day. So to me, that even in itself is an energetic clearing. And you know, I'm really mindful because I work with a lot of clients, and so after every single client I cleanse my space, because I want the energy to be fresh. For every single next client that comes in, I'm very mindful of that. And then, of course, my office is in my home, so I really like to keep my office really clear, because I don't want, you know, my family being affected by the energy. So I always really like to, just like we brush our teeth, just like we shower every day, we physically stay clean. Well, energetically, with our own energy field and our own homes, we want to work with that. So then after we've come around the home and we've completely cleared it, then is when we bring and fill up the home with all our beautiful intentions. So what is the energies that you want to flow into the home, right? Oh, and by the way, yawning, or there's all sorts of different things that happen to people when they're moving energy. Some people yawn, some people even burp, some people, their tummy starts rumbling. And, you know, we can get really attuned to our bodies like that reads energy, right? Because sometimes we walk into spaces where there is a lot of stagnant energy. I'm going to call it stagnant, but you know, that means lots of things, right? If there's a lower vibration in the space, sometimes we feel tightness in our chest, sometimes we feel tightness in our belly, sometimes we get a headache, you know, or we get a pain somewhere in our body. So that is that consciousness in our body speaking to us. So what I like to do, and then after I've done a full clearing, then I like to fill up the space. So may this space be filled with love and light and joy and beauty and strength and resilience. May this space be filled with gratitude and vibrant health and vitality and consciousness and kindness and compassion and clarity, and, you know, just all the energies that you would like to fill your home up with, right? So we have to be really mindful about the energy that we send to another person, most importantly to ourselves, right? A lot of the time we're quite happy to send beautiful energy to others, but it can be very critical or unkind to ourselves. So that energy, those thoughts, that energy that we send to ourselves is so important, but also to our home. When we walk into our home, like, do we show gratitude and love for this home that keeps, you know, us warm and shelters us, and a home that we can live and thrive in, right? So like any of us, When we are kind and loving with ourselves and in our relationships, they blossom, right? Well, it's the same thing in our homes. If we're kind and loving and gracious to our homes, it's the same thing. And then again, I like to, whether this you're working with clients or you're doing it yourself, I like to leave windows and doors open for as long as possible, like the rest of the day, or if you can do it for another hour, just so all that old energy can leave the space. I think that can be really, really beautiful. And then we have to close the actual sacred space. We have to, because we have all these energies open where we've called in our highest selves, we've called in this white light, we've called in ancestors and gods and goddesses and archangels, and we're working with all these different forms of energy. So it's very, very important after we've set the intentions and when we feel complete that we close the sacred space. We close the energies, we give thanks to all of the support from a higher power, ancestors, all of our team, and we show gratitude, but we say this is closed now.